Hi, everybody, and welcome back to The Warrior Way. I am going to read this poem to you guys right now, and I'm going to make this into a short, and then I'm going to have a little bit longer video. I'm going to do this with some of my poetry. I think it's important to discuss this one. It's called The Return After the Burn. So, our lives, or at least for my life, it was a struggle, going through life and trying to figure myself out. And you have to go through a lot of challenges in order to get to this place of returning to the soul, to God. So here we go. The return after the burn. We created ourselves to be free, hard to believe with our histories. A type of game, a type of reality requires us to change our mentality. It's not what we initially thought, the world of illusion we were bought. Our five senses completely absorbed, getting our desires fulfilled was the reward. After some time, that game gets old. We find spirituality, at first we're cold, making fun of those who follow a life of spirit while ours are hollow. Depression kicks in, it hits real bad. Suicidal thoughts, you're clearly sad. But you'll still deny as you keep getting high, a life of the soul not ready to try. Then one day, things will turn, perhaps after a night where you did burn. Ready for change after that last bender, turning to God, a complete surrender. It's the God inside, the place of the soul. Hard to believe you do have control. Takes time and patience to clean our act. Once we do, we start to attract that pull of God as we are source. Once you remember, there's no remorse. You learn to let go, no longer hold. The ego game, you did fold. At some point in your life, you wake up because you could be chasing something for so long. Like you could be wanting to fulfill desire after desire, creating all kinds of fires, which was something I had to deal with. Like the more you chase after desires, the more you end up having some struggles later because you cause pain to others. Because if you're just caring about fulfilling your needs, then you're not really caring about your deeds, meaning what you're actually doing, because you're doing stuff to other people that has an effect on other people. Like, you know, it's funny. There were women in my life that I was completely honest with. I think I was really honest even during those times where I was fulfilling desire after desire. But at some point, I was told that other people would tell me this, and I just didn't listen. Which was that you're causing people that the women don't they're not listening to you. Like you think they really believe what you're saying? Like they think that eventually you'll be in a relationship. Not everybody, but some of them definitely thought that way, and it was causing a lot of issues. Now, what at the same time, not only was I causing issues to them, but I was also causing issues to myself because I wasn't feeling good. It didn't make me feel loved. It didn't make me feel happy, whether it's getting high, whether it's partying, whether it's fulfilling my needs or whatever it might be. It never made me feel good. Now, there were times in my life where I wouldn't say that I was going to kill myself in a sense, but I felt like there was part of me that felt like, okay, but like if I'm not here, like who cares? Like if I die, like it doesn't matter. Like if I use drugs and end up dead, like does it really matter? That type of thing. Like I used to think like, well, what happened? Like you're just here and you die. So what's the difference? Like it's okay if you die. And I wasn't using drugs to hurt myself, but if I did, so be it. And then you start doing things that are pretty harmful to your physical body with substances, whether it's drinking a lot, drugs, like, and then you feel it, your body starts to feel it. Now, I used to work out during that time as well, so like, it burns your weight, it burns out you sweat out all that stuff, and like you're like you still feel good, and your body starts to still look pretty decent during that time. But it takes a lot. Like you have to work that much harder to get yourself into a good position, and it takes a toll on you. And after a while, like there are moments in that journey of where you're drinking and drugging and partying where you feel this need to like you need to turn around. Like you're sad inside. I mean, if you're really honest, like just look at it. Like if you're still going out there and you're still doing some of those things, like go out there into the world. I mean, go out there to like the bars and the parties and like just observe for like before you start doing all that stuff, just like watch. And it's like this forced happiness, this forced way of being, of forcing the action. Whether it's guys like forcing their way onto women in a certain way, like they force their way over, or egos they walk over and like they get intimidated by another guy talking to a girl, and there's all these games being played, and you get tired of that game at some point. I'm 40, but I got tired of the game about 3 years ago, about 37, the middle of 37. I'm 40. I'm turning 41 in January. So, at 37, some point during that time, like it started to get really old quickly. I got divorced at 32. So I was divorced already for 5 years before I turned it around. That I went on a 5 year run, I would call it, and it was fun. I'm not gonna lie, like it was a lot of fun, but it never left me like I wasn't happy during that time. I wasn't happy at all, and prior to that, when I was married for 11 years, there was happiness maybe in the beginning of my marriage because it's a happy time when you first get married, but not much. It wasn't consistent. There was always this hiding inside of feeling like, and I was religious, as I mentioned in other videos. I was religious, and it's a different thing. Like when you're religious and following rules, you think it goes like you're collecting points for this futuristic happiness. But now you don't have to be happy; you'll be happy in the next life. But in this life, like it's not about being happy. And then at some point you realize like it is about this life, like it is about the now, like how do I feel now? And that only happens sometimes through going through really difficult things, um, through literally going through pain and suffering, so that way you turn it around. And it's almost, that's God's grace. It's almost God's way of showing us that it's not a punishment. It's that God is telling us, hey, listen, you can continue doing whatever it is you're doing, but ultimately, God is inside you. You're the God, you're the creator of your own universe. So you create your own reality. So it's you, like I mentioned, changing your own mentality. Like if you create your own reality, then of course, like when you're using drugs and you're drinking that much, then you're creating a reality where the only way for you to feel fulfilled, or for you to get that like burst of like a high or a happiness, is through the use of substances. It's also kind of like, and I know a lot of people drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. I've never drank coffee, so that was not one of my fixes. But like in order to be awake, a lot of people need to drink coffee to feel awake. Like think about that concept, to be awake. And we talk about awakening of the soul. Like to be awake, you need to like take something to be awake. How about the fact that you wake up in the morning? Like you wake up, that's what we call it, waking up in the morning. You just went to sleep. Again, an analogy. You just literally went to sleep at night, but it's also an analogy of like the slumber of like forgetting yourself. You went to sleep, then you wake up. That waking up should be the gratitude. In Judaism, they say a morning prayer, Modeh ani lifanecha melechai v'kayam shechazarta binishmasi b'chemla rabba emunasecha. Modeh ani is a prayer of thanking God, that you return my soul. Yes, with your faith, like you returned. It's literally saying, God, thank you so much for returning my soul in the morning and waking me up. Now, I would just say that your soul never left. Your soul's there with you every single second. And I think that they don't mean it in that way that it left you, but in the sense that like, yes, you go to sleep and you forget, but it's an analogy. You just, not only do you forget when you go to sleep at night, we're sleeping when we're partying, and we're sleeping when we're chasing after things, whether it's desires, all kinds of desires, and money and women and houses and cars. Not to say you can't have those things, but allowing them to come to you as opposed to chasing them, as opposed to forgetting God, forgetting your soul in the process. It's like the saying, the selling your soul to the devil. You're willing to sell your soul away for these things. And ultimately, at the time, you're like, what's the difference? I feel so good, right? An amazing night of a climax of sex, or an amazing night of drugs, parties of like, yes, and that there's a high, but then the come down afterwards, and we know that come down. Those people who have experienced it, you've experienced it. If you haven't experienced it, good, in a sense. Like you don't need to experience. I mean, some people may not have experienced it yet, and then they still might feel they need to. And there are certain substances that you can use for spiritual ways, and I think that there are substances that are beautiful for spiritual ways, like if within the right place, in the right time. Like that's why ayahuasca is a big one, and mushrooms, and even a drug like Molly or ketamine can be used in the right context. Ketamine for therapy can be used very well. Molly for to let out your dancing and to let out your joy and to learn to like let go of and let your body just move. I've used those substances for those ways. But again, a lot of times they're abused, and the more you use it, the more you forget. But the point is to use it as a tool if you're going to use it. Even weed could be like that. And I was using weed in a way for spirituality for such a long time, but I was abusing it at some point. Like it was just becoming abuse, and then it loses what it's giving to you originally. It loses that potency. It loses that feeling that you were getting initially, even if it's for spiritual reasons. It's almost like if you spread it out, like the people who can use it are the people who could spread it out. Like you don't use it every week, you don't use it every day. There was a kid in high school, maybe it was high school. Yeah, it was high school. He would smoke one cigarette a week, like on a weekend, or in college maybe he was doing it too. Like he'd smoke on a Saturday night one cigarette, like, and then you're getting something from that. You're getting like a little buzz, a little bit of like a rush. And I hear that more of like setting aside a certain time where you do certain things can be very helpful. And in religions they have that where they specify doing certain things at certain times, and that's actually I think very helpful for people to be able to do that. But it's hard because with stuff like that, it becomes desires that you want, that you enjoy, and then the more you want to fulfill that desire, so you have more and more. It's like I have these glazed donuts, those pop 'em donuts, where you pop one in, and I'm like, ooh, one, two, three, and I can have a whole box. I don't have the whole box now, but I literally can because I understand that feeling of like once you take it, like the self control is very difficult for many of us, including myself. So it's almost better sometimes to not have it at all if you can't control yourself, whatever that is, that drug, that food, the women, like the feeling of like, oh, I need to be abstinent from certain things. And for myself, I've been abstinent from all substances for a nice period of time because I have that ability to use something and then continue to use it. Alcohol was never one of those things. I can have a drink and it really isn't, I don't really like it. So it's different. See, when you don't like something, to be able to stop yourself is much easier than when you actually like something. Like I like smoking weed, so if I were to smoke weed, I might go back into it. If I smoke a cigarette, I might continue to smoke. I wonder for myself at this point. It's been a couple months from the vaping. Would I quickly go back? And I think that at this point, I have no, I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get to a certain place where you've taken that turn, because you've been burned so many times. So you know what it's like, and you know where that road leads. And I have God with inside me now that is allowing me to feel that control over it. Versus when I've stopped doing things in the past, I didn't have this thing called God inside me. I didn't believe that it was inside me. I believe it was an external thing. So I didn't know that there was a possibility of really having that control. And that's the God of the co-creating God within inside of you. That there's God is every single thing, you, me, the room here, plant, whatever it is, but God inside of you. So you do have control. And I've learned to have control. I've learned to tap into that place of my soul. And that allowed me from not smoking that bowl. Right. So that's how I feel. And that is what's real, is that feeling inside, to know that's real. And the way in which I keep on mentioning it worked for me is to go further in. And there are methods of breathing. There are different meditation techniques that people use to do that. And the various ways are all good, and everyone has to find what works for them. But ultimately, tapping into the inner place to go inside, so you don't look for external things to help you feel what you need to feel for yourself, which is to feel stable and content. Because it's not this consistent, like, oh, like high feeling anymore. It's this consistent of like gratitude and thank you, feeling in love, and just being in love and gratitude as often as you want, and to stay in that place. So I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. And if you did like this video, of course, it's good to click that like button for others to be able to tap into it the same way you tapped into it. Thank you again.